Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Faculty of Science and NUS. My name is Linda Selou. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Chemistry and in the Science Communication program. Allow me to start this evening by thanking you all for coming today, especially our distinguished guest for taking the time to be present. In particular, His Excellency Mark Abenso, Ambassador of France to Singapore, and the Embassy of France representatives. Ms. Tan Quan, the founder and director of At Sunrise Global Chef Academy, who made possible the visit of Helvetis to Singapore and graciously gave us the opportunity to organize this public talk today. Our Vice Dean, Prof. Lu, who is a chemist. Did I say I was a chemist also? Yes. He's also in charge, he also oversees the program, the Science Communication program. Prof. Lu, who is not a chemist, a biologist. Nobody is perfect. Wait, I'm joking. Since he's my boss, he's perfect. And of course, Prof. Helvetis and his wife, who traveled 10,000 kilometers to be here to inspire us. So I would like to invite now the ambassador, His Excellency, to come and introduce Helvetis.
Merci. Good evening, dear professors, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to be with all of you tonight for Professor Helvetis conference. And I would like also to express my thanks to Professor Lu Yixin and Vice Dean of the Faculty of Science, and Professor Liu Yichun, Director of the Science Communication Program, and also to Mrs. Quan Lue, who is the founder and director of At Sunrise Global Chef Academy. And it's your initiative to have invited Professor Tis to join us at Singapore. This evening will be the opportunity to highlight, both innovation and gastronomy. And usually when we mention innovation, we immediately think of labs, startups, global companies, and so on. But what I'd like to emphasize, that's there is this most precious part of innovation, which relies actually on extraordinary men to conduct a disruptive approach in their field of excellence. And very clearly, Professor Tis is one of them. And I will just mention, some important milestone in your career. Professor Helvetis invented in 1988, together with another physicist called Nicolas Curti, the domain of molecular gastronomy, which is, and I quote you, a scientific look at cooking. So what does it mean more precisely? It's the study of the physical and chemical transformation processes that occur during cooking. And from that scientific study, new methods and tools have been developed and could be also designed, and new ingredients could be used. So I'm sure we will have many examples tonight, but I've learned recently that if you cook an egg at 65 degrees Celsius rather than in boiling water at 100 degrees, its texture, it's different. And I only learned about it, but I also tested it, and I can confirm that it's true. You can also cook different ingredients at low temperature or under vacuum and under pressure, and that will also provide, new texture and new taste. And I've been then informed by Professor Thies that you can not only make Chantilly chocolate with the chocolate emulsion instead of cream, but also a Chantilly foie gras or Chantilly cheese. And so we are engaged in the endless discussion about whether it's a good idea or not. But Professor Thies swear to me that it tastes very good. But I haven't tested it yet. The scientific discipline of molecular gastronomy is the design of new methods and tools for cooking and the use of new ingredients in cooking. But as you know, in the domain of food, you need more than just science and technology. And there is this part which is maybe difficult, to decipher and to fully master, but which is based on art and on passion. And so this is why, gastronomy, it's a French passion, but also relying on a very Cartesian way to proceed. And I think you embody yourself, this combination of Cartesian mindset and passion and artistic approach. And so this is also this characteristic which led you to collaborate with very well-known chefs, such as a 3-star Michelin chef called Pierre Gagnère. And also your works have been highly appreciated by another chef called Ferran Adrià, who is a Spanish chef whose restaurant El Bulli was voted the best restaurant in the world. That puts some pressure on you when you get this kind of award. These chefs, and I'm sure others, were very enthusiastic about the new processes and ingredients that you have developed and discovered thanks to your scientific studies. And then they have assimilated this process and created also new recipes and new dishes. And so it was a possibility for them, to explore a very wide range of possibilities and how to use, the potential that these new processes could develop. So you invented molecular cuisine, but you did not stop there. And it was something like 12 years ago. And you continued to develop your research. And now you have developed a new approach, which is called note by note cooking, cuisine note à note. And the basic idea, and you will explain it just after me in a much better way, it's that you don't need to use anything. No meat, no fish, no vegetables, no fruit, just pure compounds. And you combine them and you recreate tastes and dishes touch after touch, exactly as a musician who is composing music note after note. So you can use pure compounds like water, proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, all these very poetic elements, and then you mixed that all together and you add some very odorant compounds, and you have at your disposal an infinity of flavors and new tastes and new odors and new consistencies. So it's a very rich domain that you have developed. Your approach, is not limited to develop, new recipes and so on. I know that you have also a very strong awareness of some key challenges for our humankind. The fact that the population on Earth, will keep growing, and that we will be confronted to this challenge on how to feed everyone on the planet, and also how to bring to everyone healthy food. And this new approach that you have developed, can contribute in the future also to provide some innovative solutions to solve these key challenges for humankind. And lastly, I wanted to mention that your conference is fully in line with what the French Embassy is developing over the last month with Singapore authorities. So as you have noted, we are engaged in the Year of Innovation between France and Singapore. This Year of Innovation, it's a way to increase interactions between the two ecosystems in France, in Singapore. We all know that Singapore is a smart nation. You may have noted that President Macron said that he wants to turn France into a startup nation, a nation which thinks and moves like a startup. And so we thought that it would make sense, to establish a bridge between the startup nation and the smart nation. And basically that would mean to have, Singapore as our gateway to the rest of Southeast Asia, but beyond, also to the rest of Asia. And actually it's already the case. There is an increasing number of French entrepreneurs, French research centers setting up here in Singapore. They're settling down in Singapore. And also, we hope that in the future there will be more and more Singaporean startups deciding to go to France to explore French market and also the rest of Europe. And we think that because the startup scene is really booming in France, that it's an opportunity, to scale up in Europe for these startups. And so today we have addressed many different sectors like fintech, smart city, advanced manufacturing, and so on. But we thought that gastronomy was, of course, absolutely necessary in the Year of Innovation, to highlight also our collaboration on gastronomy. And so tonight, it's the opportunity for that. Just one last word. I wanted to seize this opportunity to recommend all of you to go on the French Embassy social networks. So go on the Facebook account, go on the Twitter account of the French Embassy. We need more followers, and I'm sure that you can find many ideas about what to do during weekends, what kind of conference, and you can follow. We cover a very wide range of activities, from science, from artificial intelligence. We have a video with Cédric Villani, a very famous French mathematician who was in Singapore just 2 weeks ago. So please just take the initiative, and I'm sure that we will have many opportunities to meet again in the coming weeks and months. Thank you very much. And now I invite Professor Thies.
Thank you very much. Okay, many thanks for the kind words you said. Many thanks for NUS and the kind invitation. I should thank everybody at Sunrise, Global Chef Academy, and so on, but I'm not very good at that because I'm focusing on science. So with the permission of the ambassador, I will take out my coat because it's too hot and I have to make experiment. Now it's better. Now we can focus on something. I know. So what are you doing?
Your slides.
Okay. I know that some of you are scientists, but some are not, and this is a big issue because in France we say clarity is the politeness when you speak in front of an audience. So I have to, in order to be polite, which is something that I think is very important, I have to be very clear, but being clear for my colleagues in chemistry is not always the same as being clear for someone who is doing literature. So I have, for my colleagues, I have to give excuse, I apologize, because sometimes they will know something, but I hope that they will find something new also. For the others, when you see something complex, don't be afraid you can ask questions at any time, but I will try to do my best in order to be clear anyway. So let's begin. Oh no, I should begin this way. This is the program of the evening. So we are discussing on molecular gastronomy, which is very important. Indeed, the reason why I'm here is because I have the hope that there will be the creation of a group of molecular gastronomy in the university. This is what I want. I'm not sure that I will succeed, but anyway, this is what I want. This is molecular gastronomy is a part of food science. It's not food technology. It's a part of food science. It's not the whole of food. I'm not Napoleon. You know, Napoleon wanted to cover everything Europe, but no, I have no power. I don't want power. I just think that we need collectively in France or in Singapore more molecular gastronomy because it is the key for applications. There will be applications of two kinds. One kind is technique, and the other is education. The two kinds are as important, okay? So this is my goal. I would be very sad if I come back to France without having no group in molecular gastronomy. Anyway, so the story, but about molecular gastronomy, I know that many people confuse. They confuse with molecular cooking, with molecular cuisine. There is a lot of confusion. So I have to explain. Now, for scientists, my colleagues, and also for the other, I have to explain something very important. You know, if you are a scientist, you are paid, for me, by the French government, which is not much, but anyway, I'm paid to make a discovery. So my goal in life should be to get the Nobel Prize in chemistry or in physics. I will probably not succeed, but anyway, I'm doing my best. The big issue is, okay, imagine that my boss is there, the boss of INRA. INRA, it was there, INRA, okay? It's the National Institute of Agronomical Research. My boss is there, and this is what happened, really. He told me, Hervé, okay, now you are at INRA, you have to do good science, okay? I'm very obedient because I'm a civil servant. I told him, oh, yes, Mr. President. But the question is, how to make it? And the guy had no answer to offer. So, you know, this is strange because I can do my best to do something, but how should I do it? So indeed, we need a strategy. A strategy means a goal. Imagine that you are for example, in Paris, and if you don't know that you want to go to Singapore, you will never reach Singapore. So in order to begin, you need a goal, and this goal is, I want to go to Singapore. And then you find a way. The way in Greek is called method, the method. Methodon means the way. When you have the goal, you can find the way, okay? The goal was clear, getting the Nobel Prize. But what is the way? And nobody told me. And I consider that we are very bad in science university because we ask the young students to be good in science, but we don't give them the way. And this is bad. And we have to collectively to think together in order to find strategies that we can communicate so that they are better than we are. So this will be the second part. Now, application, I told you. Okay. So, big failure. Okay. Okay. Confusion. So I told you there are many confusion. Cooking, gastronomy, science, technology, technique. Everybody's lost. And generally, people make the confusion between technique and technology, between science and gastronomy, between molecular cooking and molecular... So we have to explain. This is, oh, by the way, something very important because consider, for example, technique and technology. There are two words, which means there are two different activities. They have nothing in common. So being a good technician does not mean that you are a good technologist. But being a good technologist, that doesn't mean that you are a good technician. So this should be shown to everybody at the entrance of university. Where are you going, guys? Okay. So now, you see, everything is at the same level. I don't put science over technique. A good technician is better than a bad scientist. Okay, a bad scientist, it's true, but a bad scientist does not exist because otherwise it would not be a scientist. Anyway, And if I were to create a food science and technology university, I would teach the three. But technology or engineers are in the middle. It means you go to science. You don't do science yourself. You go to science, you understand what is produced, the new results, and then you bring them back to technique. And this is technology. So you see, organizing a new technology university is something easy. Of course, you need ethics, you need languages, you need moral, you need history, you need everything. So technique. Technique means you produce something, you do something. In Greek, techne means to do something. Okay, very, very simple. Now, if you are taking a look backwards at technique, what do you see? You see you start from food ingredients, you process the food ingredients, and you take two processed food and you make it finally into a dish. Very simple, very difficult to make because I will add something later. Being a technician, I mean, moving the hand to whisk something, is, first of all, is probably boring, you see. What's the use in life of whipping an egg? It's not very interesting. So we should not spend 1 second at boring things. We need a machine, we need something, but don't whip eggs, it's useless. Now, what I recognized recently, no scientist, even a Nobel Prize winner, is able to make a roof like this. No scientist is able to make a bridge like this. And no scientist is able to make a cake like this, which means that technicians, it's not something bad. It can be something, it can be turned into something exciting because this bridge is there for 2 millennia, which means that there is some intelligence behind. And I'm not saying that the technician is silly. I'm saying that the goal is not to move one's arm. Okay, what is the goal then? It's obvious. What is the goal? The goal, imagine that you are a carpenter, okay? You design a staircase. You invite your friend, they will break their legs because the staircase is bad. It means I don't love you. And finally, in the end, I realize that the goal of the technicians is to say I love you. And this is much more important than anything else. And we have to learn to say I love you because we are a human collectivity. I don't care being French or being Singaporean. We have to be together, work together in view of making a better world. This is very important. And of course, it can go through startups, it can go through university, collaborations, very important. So now, cooking. Of course, I told you that cooking was technique. I told you that cooking was love. But in the middle, there is art. This is most dishes will be by Pierre Gagnère. When I say Pierre, it's Pierre Gagnère, is my friend. I love him. So, okay. First of all, remember, food is no food ingredients. For example, this wild pig is not food. Because before becoming food, you have to kill it. You have to take out the skin. I don't know if you ever take out the skin of a wild pig, but you need a very sharp knife. And you have to cook it over 82.5 Celsius degrees, otherwise there are parasites, and you poison your guests. So it's a bad idea. So this is not food. In order to make food, you have to cook. And this is why we introduce molecular gastronomy, because we don't focus on food science and technology, we focus on food. And food was this dish. It could be laksa soup, no, how do you say laksa? Laksa, or it could be chili crab, it can be dim sum. Food is what you eat, really. It's not what scientists could do. So anyway, this is not food. Natural. I hate nature. And you hate nature as well, because nature will kill you once in your life. Can you love something that will kill you? No. And what does natural mean? You know, I know that the food industry, on the package, it's written natural, but it's not true, because in English or in French, natural, if you look at the dictionary, it is written what was not transformed by human being. If you cook, it's not natural any longer. And by the way, this is not natural because the oranges have been cultivated, then it was pressed, it was put in a bottle. So not natural. So it should be forbidden to put the word natural. And then we can advance, because if we recognize that artificial is much better, because artificial, remember, artificial. It is the real root. Artificial is the product of art. So we should say that all food should be artificial. Okay. Sorry. Now, something very interesting. You know, I'm coming from another planet, not of another country, another planet. I'm coming from a planet somewhere. I'm slightly crazy. So I look at people eating, okay? What do they eat? They eat differently. For example, in Renaissance, you know, the plate was very flat, okay? Like porridge, let's say, or in China, I don't know if you have the same, or soup, probably. Very flat. Probably boring. You see, they have their hat when they eat. In France today, when it is forbidden to keep the hat. It's considered impolite, you know. The knife was on the left, not on the right. So why? There are many, many things to consider, to understand. Why was it a change? So you need history to understand food, because remember, food is a product of art. Suddenly, in the 18th century, Carême was a wonderful chef. Carême invented architectural cooking. So suddenly, it went up. It was the first time in the history of cooking. And look now at the big changes since the last World War. In 1953, you had 3 stars at Michelin with this. They are trouts filled with bananas. Do you imagine at sunrise teaching your students to stuff trout with banana? Imagine the 3-star Michelin. No, nobody. It's crazy. Now let's move. 1965, the Trois Gros Brothers had 3 stars with a piece of salmon with cream and wine. But at the time, it was considered as brand new. And we should not say that it was bad. We should say that there was a big evolution. But in the future, look, Paul Bocuse. Now there is something probably better, I don't know, different. Now look at the changes. In your plate now, you have this kind of thing, or this one, or this one. You see, there are big changes. The lesson of this picture is that if there were big changes, there will be big changes. So we should not stop at that point. We have to consider the future. And it's obvious because nobody will get 3 stars in 10 years from now with such a plate. It will be considered as old as the other, okay? Sorry, I was turning my back to you. I love you, okay? Okay, so sometime you can have the yin-yang effect, the freshness of the color, and so on. Okay. Variation in space, variation in time, or variation in space. You see, this one are in space. We eat differently in Singapore and in my country, in Alsace. What will be the next art? I hope it will be note by note cooking, but I will tell you later. So now we have to, where is it? Here. Technology, I will be very fast because first, I'm not a technologist, and then you will see some technology in action later. Science. Science is very important. The dean is there, so now I speak to the dean. Mr. Dean, I would be very happy that any students coming in university at the beginning would look at this sentence: sciences of nature are looking for the mechanism of phenomena. This is very safe. It is very true, and it is very easy. When they have the goal, they can find the way. I was not told that when I was a student. It was a big mistake, and I'm very angry at my professors. Okay? Now, the scientists, they don't rely on one leg. They rely on 2 legs. One is experiment, and the second is calculation. We need to do mathematics on the result of measurements because we measured everything. And I would love to come back to France if you accepted to show to your students, all of them, this picture, which is the method of science. First, you consider a phenomenon, for example, a mountain. You ask, why a mountain? Or why the sky blue? You make measurements, number 2. Now you group into equations, number 3. Now you look for a phenomenon, number 4, which is a theory. When you have a theory, you know, people have the idea that scientists are very pretentious. They have the truth, which is not true, because we know that our theories are wrong. So if the theories are wrong, we cannot prove them. The only thing that we can make is to make a theoretical prediction and to make an experiment in the hope that we will find the refutation of the theory, which is a way to improve the theory. And it will go on and on and on forever. So when I was young, I was thinking, wow, these old people, they invented special relativity, general relativity, quantum mechanics. It's finished. No, it's not finished. Everything is to be discovered. If you are 20 years old now, please go. There is plenty of possibilities of discovery. Okay? So science is wonderful. In my case, I'm not studying Higgs boson or tumoral cells or anything. I'm focusing on cooking. Okay? And this is molecular gastronomy. So this is a Beka-Ofa from Alsace. This one is a choucroute, also from Alsace. This one is a coq au vin, chicken with wine, wonderful wine sauce. This one, this one, foie gras. And you know, I'm paid by the French government to study these things, which is incredible, incredible. Not much. They could give me more. Anyway, this is a beautiful kouglof. By the way, just a tip. If you make a kouglof, generally you ferment twice. But please do know that if you ferment more than twice, you will increase the quantity of sotalone, which is a small furanon. And this sotalone is responsible for the flavor of brioche, kouglof, and champagne. And yellow wine from Jura. And the more fermentation, the more of sotalone. Of course, there is another possibility. Put sotalone. Okay, now we have to move. So, as Mr. Ambassador said, His Excellency, the Ambassador said, His Excellency, Mr. Ambassador said, in 1988, we created molecular gastronomy with Nicolas Curti. We were 2 schoolboys. I'm still a schoolboy. I cannot behave, as you can see. I can dance in front of the ambassador and so on. So, and probably it's not good for the Nobel Prize. I mean, but anyway, I have only one life, so I have to do my best. Otherwise, the ambassador will be bored and will not be invited back in Singapore. So, and probably my salary will be reduced. It's not big, but imagine that you would reduce. Anyway, now you see my life. Scientific activity is called molecular gastronomy, which is very clear, because in French, gastronomy means knowledge, okay? And there are many technical applications. I don't have time tonight to explain all the applications that I introduce, so I will focus on not cooking, okay? Now, question of scientific strategy. How to get a Nobel Prize? I don't know, because if I knew, I would have it. The goal is very clear. We need to make a discovery. Now, for me, you know, I'm studying molecular gastronomy, so there are different directions in which I should go. So when I see my boss at INRA, the guy is asking me to make a discovery, okay? But there are many, many questions. We don't have time to look at them. For some time, I was putting on the internet 1 open question per day that I have. So questions, I have questions. I have only questions. By the way, I'm perhaps paid for questions, not for answers. But I take only one. For example, imagine that you have a ripe apricot, okay? You know, you feel the ripe, even if you feel it, you know an apricot? You have apricots in Singapore? Okay, very good. So you feel the ripe apricot very sweet? Yes? Okay. You feel it as well? Ripe apricot, okay. You take the ripe apricot, very sweet. You make an apricot tart, and suddenly it becomes sour, acidic. How is it possible? I measured the pH. pH is a measurement of the acidity, before and after, the same. I measure the intracellular pH, so inside the cells of the apricot with a certain P31 phosphorus 31 NMR spectroscopy. We measure the pH the same. I don't understand anything. We are living in the 21st century. Nobody understands why apricot tart are sour. Isn't it crazy? We don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. And all the questions are the same. So, you know, I'm there. I want the Nobel Prize. I want to move. In which direction should I go? I don't know. Okay. So this is now a metaphor. The scientist is living in the present line. Okay. When I turn back, I can see the mountain. Quantum mechanics, relativity, graphene, fullerenes, and so on. But I'm not paid to do science history. I'm paid to produce knowledge. Where should I go? It's a mist, because if I knew where a mountain is lying, I would go, but it would be discovered, so it's not true. So I should go in the mist. It was not in this direction. And remember, I want to find a mountain. Where are the mountains? I don't know, and nobody can tell me. Otherwise, the discovery would be done, which means that I should not trust anybody, even my director or president, because he or she is not able to tell me where I'm going. And then I don't accept any program, because I want to make a discovery, and these people, the directors of INRA, they don't have the Nobel Prize, which means that I cannot trust them. So, you know, it's very difficult to be the dean of a scientific university, because the scientists are trained to say, no, I want to make my discovery. Anyway, which direction, we don't know. Except that if you look, you know, in Europe, we have a proverb, all ways are going to Rome. Okay, and you see the two first. Okay. Now, what is very, we have hope, because for years, I asked Nobel Prize winners to tell me their method, and they accepted to give it to me. And we have now 12 ideas. It's increasing very slowly. I want these ideas being transmitted to young scientists, because it's our duty. Okay, let's move. If possible. No, we are stuck on this question. Now I will show you what we do at the lab with the money of the taxpayers in France. At the lab, we are studying carrot stock. Carrot stock means you put carrots in water and you eat, okay? For now 30 years. A lot of students are working on carrot stock. So we are putting carrots on water, eating, boiling, and then we use NMR spectroscopy to analyze the carrot stock, okay? We discover what's going out of the carrots. For example, in a stock, you have glucose, fructose, and sucrose. These are the main sugar, let's say, or sugar, carbohydrates, or sugar. So we know that. We know also many other things. For example, we have a theory. If you put, you know, in a carrot, you have some channels. Some channels, the sap is going up, and this sap is made of water plus minerals. And then there is a chemical factory, and the products, they go down in other channels. So they are called xylem and phloem, very funny name. And in the elaborated sap, you have sugars and amino acids mostly. Okay, so my theory, so you see the xylem of the phloem in a carrot there, they are small white circles, okay? So my theory was that if you put a carrot into the liquid, the compounds will go out, and then you will get them into the stock. It is a theory, but remember, all theories are wrong. So the question is not, is this theory true? It is wrong. So the question is, how is this theory wrong? So, of course, I tried to do that. So I put, this is not a carrot, but an onion. You see the channel at the top, as not this way, but this way. Here is this way. And we put that into methylene blue, and suddenly the blue was coming inside. So if the blue can come inside, it can go out. Very simple. Is this theory right? No, it's wrong. So we made some calculations with computers, but we get only what we put. So there was no prediction in this experiment. So unfortunately, I had to drop. Oh, wonderful equations. We have the duty to tell the students that mathematics are wonderful. It's a pleasure, you know. For me, whipping the egg, whipping the egg, my shirt becomes dirty, my wife is very angry, and I hate having the dirty hands. You know, I'm an intellectual, these people are lazy, they rely no, it's not true. Anyway, I love this kind of equations, it's very funny, but anyway, the theory is wrong. Because look, the blue color is outside the channel. How is it possible that this color moved outside the channel? So the theory was wrong. It is obvious. So we are paid as scientists to produce wrong theories that we know wrong, and we refute in order to produce other wrong theories that we know wrong, and we refute, and so on forever. So up to my death, I will produce wrong things. It's wonderful. We have anyway a new model, because indeed it's not completely wrong. It is not perfectly right, which is different. And this is a new model with many coefficients. I'm very happy of this model. It took me 15 years to produce. Now I'm working on this model, and we are making advances, because now fitting the curves, as they say, I will not be long on that, we can find how much compounds go out from the inside of the channels and from the cell. So it's a small advance. Now, something funny. Funny for me, for you perhaps it's boring, but I will do my best to make it funny for you. One morning I was at the lab, and you know, in my lab there are very strict rules. One rule is when the students make the experiment, they have to show me. Not that because I want to control, I don't want to control anybody, because I cannot control myself. So, but I want to, because the students, they steal the experiment from me. I would be very happy to make it, but I can't, because they have to train. So there was a carrot stock PhD. It was a PhD, the first PhD on stock. And one morning I came in front of the two vessels. The one on the left, the liquid was brown. The one on the right, the liquid was orange. It was the same carrot cut into two, into pure water, boiling temperature at the same time. It's impossible. And then I stopped all the lab saying, guys, perhaps we will get the Nobel Prize. And no, finally. But you know, in food science, this curve, this nail curve there, was published many times. And nobody tried to explain this curve. And finally, with two very simple differential equations, I can find it. And indeed, I found the difference between the two. There was more light on the left than on the right. And this is why we made the same experiment with aluminum foil or light. And depending on the way you do, you have orange or brown. And this is very important for cooks, because the chef, generally when they produce a stock, they want it brown, ambré, we say in France, the color of amber. And in order to get this color, they grill an onion, they put into the stock. It's useless, you just need to put some light. You see? Immediately an application of science. Now, I'm sorry to tell you that, where is Linda? Linda is a gel, okay? It's a gel because human body is made of 75% water, trapped into a solid, a soft solid, but a solid anyway. She's not flowing, you know, I don't see any liquid around. Which means that she's a gel, because the definition, the UPAC, International Union of Pure and Applied Chemical definition of a gel, is a liquid trapped into a solid. Okay, but most food are gel. A carrot is 80% water, so it's a gel. So, Mr. Dean, I'm sorry, but you are a gel as well, not only Linda. Huh? Jean-Marie Lehn, Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, is a friend of mine, and he gave me this machine. He gave it to me once. Imagine that. You know the price? Big price. Anyway, and this is why I was studying NMR spectroscopy. NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. Don't be afraid of nuclear. there are no nuclear radiation. No, no, no. It's only because we play with the nucleus of atoms, that's all. So we were studying this. At that time, it was needed 5 days to analyze a sample because the method was 5 days. At that time, I realized that we could do quantitative NMR spectroscopy, and that was better because in science, remember, we are doing quantitative experiments. This is what we have in front of us at any second at the lab. We have, it's called a spectrum, okay? And we can recognize very easily, if we are smart enough, the amino acids, the sugars, everything. So this is a carrot stock, and this is a carrot stock. By the way, in the carrot stock, you see sucrose, glucose, malic acid. It's an acid from apples. Sucrose, fructose, okay? But also, in another part, tyrosine, valine, threonine, which are amino acids, okay? By the way, this carrot was very bad because somewhere there is ethanol, and ethanol means that there was some fermentation inside the tissue. There was even acetic acid. So you see, this carrot was organic. It was organic, but bad. Now I realize that any plant tissue is a gel, because remember, a liquid trapped in a solid. So you see the cells of a carrot. Okay, but if it is a gel, we could put it in the machine for analyzing liquids, because it is a liquid. And it is very strange. At that time, I told that to my colleagues and said, no, it's impossible to put a carrot into liquid NMR, because it's not a liquid, it's a solid. But I told them, look, it's a liquid. And finally, I did it because I wanted, and I got that. So in 10 minutes, instead of 5 days, we got the same result with more accuracy. And this is not bad, but I will not get the Nobel Prize for this because it's not enough. So I'm very sorry. Oh, by the way, I forget putting the name of publication below. I should, but you know, we are having some people who are not scientists. If you want the papers, I can give you the paper at any time, okay? So this is the first spectra with liquid NMR applied to a solid, okay? For my colleagues, you know, when we analyzed the sugar of carrots with the best method of extraction and with our method, we have seen more sugar with our method than with the best chemical method, which means that the old chemical extraction method was bad. And it's true probably for many things. Now it's a detail for colleagues, but this is the precision of the method, the variation coefficient. You see it's very, very low. And now we are able to see the glucose. We took a carrot, we took a very thin sample here and here and here, and we analyzed, and we can see how much glucose, fructose, and sucrose in 10 minutes. So now the PhD 3 years could be reduced in probably 3 months. But now only, not before. So this is, I will skip this one. Number 4. So I'm giving you example, I will be fast now. How to refute a theory. So, you know, it is said that crystallization starts from a solid in order to go. So in a yogurt, you have oil droplets, and depending on the temperature, the fat droplets in yogurt or in milk can be solid or liquid. If you put your yogurt in the fridge, it becomes solid. If you eat it, probably here it would be liquid. But when you crystallize, does it start from the outside when you have the liquid or no? And the answer is no. I'm very fast on this picture, but because you know that that this man is not a chemist, so you were a chemist. Are you a chemist? No. So we won't spend time with that. This one is very important. One morning, and this one I will ask you a question. One morning, you know, because I'm crazy, I was moving around in my lab. I'm come very early in my lab, so thinking about what should I do today? Okay. And I have an idea. I want to put an onion in an NMR machine of the hospital, MRI machine. Okay, so I went to the shop. I bought an onion. Generally, I have a knife in my pocket, but not here because of the airplane. And I came to a colleague. This colleague had a MRI machine. I said, oh, I want you to make my onion. So the price for the French government was probably, not the French government, the French taxpayers were probably 5,000 euros, okay? Who thinks that I should do that? Raise your hand if you think that I'm all right with that. Okay, oh, thank you, Todd. Oh, thank you. But you are the only one. The ambassador did not raise the hand. So. And this is an issue. Anyway, we got this picture. It took us 1 day to get the right picture, but we had this picture. And the discovery, the big discovery, is an onion is made out of scales. It's a quarter of an onion, okay? It's made of scales, but you know that there are scales in an onion, don't you? Yeah. So 5,000 euros. Anyway, the next day, I decided to make the experiment again. So now 10,000 euros. And I will tell you why I did it. I'm not fully crazy, because when the money of the French taxpayer is in question, I have to be very careful. I'm a responsible person. I'm not crazy as you think. No, I'm not saying that for the ambassador, for His Excellency the Ambassador. I say that because I have to convince myself. We got the second picture. I will tell you now why these two pictures are very important. First of all, of course, we know the scales, but if you look carefully, you see here there are small black dots. What does it mean? Indeed, there are the channels, the xylem and phloem, and the channels are all on the inner side of the scales, which means that probably the taste of this part is not the same as this one. Okay, this is a discovery. There will be no Nobel Prize for that, but anyway, it's a discovery, so it's fair for me to publish the result. It's not published yet. Now, what you see the picture on the left, sorry, you see a wide edge. What does it mean? It means that it was cut at this part. And when it is cut at this part, it triggers all these chemical reactions, and finally the plant tissue turns brown. When it turns brown, you change the flavor, you change the nutrition, you change the color, you change everything. And this is why I did the experiment twice. Because the first day, I was using my pocket knife. The blade of a pocket knife is linear this way. So imagine that the top of the blade over, you have the blade, and suddenly there is a roof. It's very sharp at the end, but when you cut, you compress the tissue. And when you compress the tissue, you trigger this reaction. And this is why the next day I came back. Because the next day I came back with a scalpel or a ceramic blade for Japanese blades. And the blades are like a V like this. You don't compress, you cut. And indeed, we made a sensory test. And an apple or a tomato that was cut with a right blade, a scalpel, is much better from a sensory point of view than with an ordinary knife. And this is what we should show to the students, because if you tell them you have to sharpen the knife, okay, the teacher is telling me to sharpen the knife, it's boring. But if you show them that and they make the experiment, then they will understand that. And this is why the Japanese people have very good, fresh flavors when they make salads. Now, let's abstract and generalize to finish. Food is organized. The chef is making an organization, okay? Now, if you look at the microscope, I promote the idea of any school having a microscope, because you can look at the material, and this is an emulsion. The white spots are oil droplets dispersed into water, and the three teeny black things are air bubbles, okay? But mainly it's an emulsion. Now, if you look deeper, you have nanostructures, teeny structures. So people fear nanoparticles, but in milk you have a lot of nanoparticles. And now there is supramolecular organization. This was a funny experiment. When you put raspberries plus tin ions, tin is a metal, suddenly it turns blue. And some chefs were able to see that. In the 19th century, it was published that you should never cook a jam of red fruits into tin, and they were right, okay? But you understand now that it is organized, okay? So in 2001, and this is what I invite you to teach your students, there is a very simple calculus, And this calculus applies at any level, and you can make a formula describing the structure. Okay? So now you see the formula for microscopic organization, microscopic, nanoscopic, and molecular. Okay. Now remember that we are eating gels. I will not eat you, but we are eating mostly gel. We had a formula of a plant tissue. Can we turn it into an artificial plant tissue? And the answer is yes. This is the same formula. This one has been done with orange juice, alginate, which is a gelling agent, and that were glued together. This is an artificial orange. But it's much better than an orange because you can control and season the juice. You can control the texture. So why buying oranges? I don't care. Now, sometimes you have more complex structure. For example, for meat, you see, there are dimensions. The meat is made of fibers, okay? One dimension. This is chocolate. This is a gelatin or a gel or agar gel. This is an egg. This is a gel as well, a gel. But you know, the word gels apply to very different systems. On the left, if you put some color on top, it will go through. On the right, it will not. Which means that we cannot use the same word for two different systems. A cat is not a dog, okay? Even in Singapore. Do you have cat in Singapore? No, but I did not see any cat. Do you have cats? Yeah, okay. So a cat is not a dog. How to distinguish? Now, I made a program. I'm very pleased to show you that because I'm not sure that I will get the Nobel Prize. I made a very simple program to produce all the possible gels. For simple gels of class 1, here they are. There are no other simple gels, only 16. For class 2 gels, there are slightly less than 100 and 500. They are here, and here, and here, and here. Thank you very much. Okay. What are we going to do? All the possibilities are known now. All these gels have different possibilities of exchange flavors with the mouse, or colors, or anything. It could be a drug. A drug could be designed this way, which means that we can control. Sometimes in the kitchen, some flavor appears immediately, and then it's less. But sometimes it appears very, very slowly, and it lasts for a long time. Okay, this is known. But can you make a food for which there would be slowly a flavor, this flavor will disappear, another flavor would come, disappear, a third one, a fourth one? This would be crazy if you are really gourmand. Can you imagine that? The pleasure. And indeed, this is the result. So you can select a formula and turn it into a dish, and this is now technology. It's no longer science. The science was before, the science was this part, and now you can turn it into technique and technology. So Dynagels, only for chemists, this is my invention, Mr. Dean. If you collaborate with your colleagues to give me the Nobel Prize, it should be for Dynagels. Dynagels are dynamic gels. They destroy at the same time they form, okay? Okay, food application now, because you have enough science. Do we have enough science? Is it enough for science? Yes? Okay. So we have to move to application. So we come back to 1980, the beginning of molecular gastronomy, but now it's the molecular cooking. The definition, at that time I was cooking at home with the tools of my lab because I only one room. So the kitchen and the lab were the same place. And I was not very rich. So molecular cooking means using new tools and methods. So for example, liquid nitrogen, we are going to make to make molecular cooking just so that you can know what it is, but I need my spectacles. Do we have orange juice? Yes, we have orange juice. We have orange juice, we have a vessel. Okay, we are going to do that here. Thank you very much. I propose that you upload Chef Kelly because he's one of the upload Chef Kelly, please, because he's no, this one. He's one of the people making the incredible dinner of tomorrow evening at Sunrise, note by note cooking. So now in order, so generally when you make an ice cream, you put that in a machine, but there is a much better idea. You just pour some liquid nitrogen, okay, and very rapidly, do you have a wooden spoon? No? I will take the glove, don't worry. Very rapidly, I know it's fresh. I decided for this experiment because I knew that it was hot in Singapore and I wanted to make it get fresh. This is a very old story. It was 1980, so I'm sorry to show to Singapore in the year of innovation, showing you something that was in a... But I knew this morning that not everybody in Singapore had the liquid nitrogen ice cream before. So I'm sorry to tell you that I will not be able to offer you to taste this one because this is not food grade. In my lab we have food grade product. Okay, anyway, it's done, almost done. The big problem is that you don't see well what you are doing. So. Okay. And the flavor is better because the crystals are very little, and then when you reduce the crystallization, you improve the flavor. Okay, here it is. You see, very fast. You could use any liquid, so it's and then you can make many other things at the same time. Anyway, this is molecular cooking. Remember, molecular cooking. Now so molecular cooking. It's an old story. So I need. Okay, thank you very much. I need the computer back. We are skipping the story because it's very old. So I show you one dinner that I had in Hong Kong. It's a molecular chef. So you recognize immediately a style. So the technique generated a new style. And the technique is molecular cooking, and the style is molecular cuisine. So you see, there is a difference. So the style is there. So by the way, this is the English way, very bad way. Because when you are in front of someone with the fork this way, it's dangerous for your neighbor. So the French style is much better. Because you protect your neighbor. This is politeness. This is French politeness. No, it's important to say. We have to forget about the English style. Do the French one, much better. Okay. So you see, this dish was called the mummy. This one was called the bird nest. This one was called caviar. It's not caviar, it's alginate. This one was balancing meat. At that point of the dinner, it was balancing. At that point of the dinner, my wife had enough, and I had twice, so I'm very happy. So the chef was pouring not water on flowers, but the sauce, and you could eat everything, even the earth, even the pot. Okay, so very funny. This dish was called the pond. This one was under the sea. This one was I go down in my garden in the morning, and slowly the mist disappears. Very, very poetic. Okay, so it was a wonderful time. First because I was with my wife, and then because it was very good. Alaska meat and so on. Coconut is not coconut. The apple with liquid core and solid part and liquid layer and solid. Okay. Very funny. Making up before dessert, but it was a dessert. And finally the candy sugar. This is over. But I want to tell you that indeed. Ferran Adrià did not invent molecular cooking. I did. Which is true. It is true. And since now 18 years, every month, I give an invention of mine to Pierre Gagnère for free on the internet. You can look at it. You will find them. Every month, so Pierre is there. I invented, for example, a dish called the Liebig. Liebig was a German chemist, but he had a bad mood, but anyway, he was a good chemist, as you know. And I wanted to make a dish, a new food preparation called the Liebig. It is a product that you never had before. I invented it in a very long time ago. Priestley was is an English discoverer of oxygen with Lavoisier. It's not so clear. So the white part is a Priestley. Wurtz is a wonderful Alsatian chemist. So the pink part on top is a Wurtz. It can be wonderful, a Wurtz. Very, very, very wonderful. The yolk at 67, the Nollet salad. This one is the best-seller dish of Pierre Gagnère in Las Vegas. So when I make an invention, Pierre does it in recipe and all over the world in Hong Kong, Dubai, Tokyo, and so on. He has no restaurant in Singapore today, no? No, oh, he should. Wind crystals, it's how to make 1 cubic liters of egg white turning into meringue from 1 egg. Okay. Gibbs, Gibbs is an American Viennese. Gibbs, no, we are going to make a Gibbs later. We could make a Gibbs, molecular Gibbs, but we are going to make a node-by-node Gibbs later when I explain node-by-node. Chocolate Chantilly, 1995, all stuff, and many others. Generally, I give the name of a chemist of the past so that the public eats chemistry. Okay? Because the public, you hate chemistry probably. Do you love chemistry or you don't like it? You like it? Oh, congratulations. This is a recent one to make layers out of butter, okay? All this is finished. We have to move to the future for innovation. Now, in 1994, I had an idea, is to use chemical compounds in food. At that time, I considered that I was crazy. The beginning of the story is this way. You know, my grandfather had some plums that are wonderful that are called Mirabelle. Mirabelle, I'm not sure that you ever, did you ever Mirabelle? You had Mirabelle before? Oh yes, in Singapore? Oh no, okay. There are certain plums, a very special variety. And you have, you wait for 1 year and suddenly thousands of Mirabelle. So generally you make 1 tart, 1 jam, and then you get rid of Mirabelle. So people distillate, okay. They make brandy. My grandfather was someone that was intelligent, and he was always putting a small stick of wood in the bottle. But why? The answer is that he was putting the barrel inside of having the barrel outside, he was putting the barrel inside. Very intelligent. So my grandfather was wonderful, but he did not know why the wood was important. And the wood is important because lignin, which is in wood, when you store it into ethanol, it is destroyed into very flavorful compounds, like vanillin. Vanillin is the first one. You know, when you put some wood with rum or whiskey, you make vanillin. So you make chemicals in your whiskey. So immediately, when I knew that, I put some vanillin to my whiskey, and my whiskey was better. Okay. Now, and it's true, you can make the experiment today if you want. You can check. If you want to make it, please use only 5 drops of liquid vanillin for 1 bottle of whiskey. It's enough. You should not perceive the flavor of vanillin. You should, there is some roundness. It's wonderful. I love this. Now, in 1992 or 1991, I don't remember, a friend of mine discovered that this para-ethylphenol is present in all Burgundy wine. So immediately, I bought some from Sigma. Sigma is a supplier for compounds. I bought some and I put in my whiskey, and you turn it, a bad whiskey, into a Lagavulin or Laphroaig for very low price. Okay. And now you have the idea, instead of just putting 1 or 2 compounds, because you can add vanillin plus para-acetylphenol. But what about whiskey? Do you need whiskey? Can we make artificial whiskey? Why not? And this was the idea that I proposed in 1994. Instead of cooking with fish, meat, fruits, vegetable, you have a beautiful cabinet like this. You have compounds, so we forget about the eggs. We take only the compounds. So proteins, or proteins. They can be plant protein, by the way. No orange juice. It's not allowed because it's a mixture. We can we have salt? Yes, salt, because salt is pure. Now, pepper. No, pepper is forbidden. Or colors, pigments. They are. Now, odorant compounds. Now, water. Water is probably important because remember we are made of 75% water. Very good. Sucrose, glucose, amino acid, all this is present in your food already, so we can, oh yes, we have to get rid of this one because it's molecular, it's nothing to do. Now, oil. Oil is a mixture, but if it has no taste, it's allowed. Anyway, you understand the story. So now we have to make synthetic food. Why? For an obvious reason. Look, in the past, 2 centuries ago, people were playing the violin. Okay. At the same time, the cook were cooking with carrots. This is the old times. Now, 1 century ago, the physicists began analyzing music into pure waves, 400 hertz and so on. And the chemists at the same time analyze compounds, plant tissue. So you recognize water, cellulose, pectin, sugars, amino acids, and so on. Now, 50 years ago, 1 room full of computers was needed to produce synthetic music. What's on the right? And today, for 20 euros, you get a synthesizer in a shop for children. What's on the right? So now you understand that it is obvious. We have to move to synthetic food. We have to get rid of the past of the fruit, plant tissue and animal tissue for many reasons. And by the way, if you are a chemist like me, when you look at a carrot, you don't see the carrot, you see the compounds, and they are organized in a certain way. But if you have them separately, you can make it into another way. So the number of possibilities is incredible. I offer to you a whole continent of new flavors. And this is note by note cooking. So it is very exciting if you love food. Of course, if you don't love food, are you human? Okay. Now some chef fear that it is difficult because it's true that you have to build the shape, the consistency, the colors, the other. They have the feeling that, wow, it can be very, very difficult. So we are going to make one food very, very rapidly. We need we have a chef, so the chef will work. Because remember, I don't want to have dirty hands. So we are going to put it's not flour, they are proteins. For this one, I don't know where they come from, okay? We are adding water, okay? So indeed, we are making an artificial meat, in a way, or artificial egg white. An egg white is 10%, 10% proteins and 90% water. You have to dissolve that. So we have to dissolve the protein in water, which is very simple. Now, we don't, for this dish, we want some fat, because we love fat generally. Not the ladies. The ladies are beautiful persons coming from the ceiling, going slowly down to earth, but you and me, the men, we are brute, so we need fat, okay? We need fat and sugar. So now we are adding fat, okay? Which means that we have to turn the foam into an emulsion. A foam means air into a liquid. An emulsion means oil into a liquid. Okay. It works well. So, okay, very good, very good, very good. Congratulations. We will not wait a long time. We could make much more. Because you want sugar, we are adding sugar. Okay, we are adding sugar. You want more? Okay, we have more. Now, which color? Our chef. The chef is an artist. He should tell us which color. Do you want cherry red or yellow durian? Oh, no. Not yellow durian. Yellow durian color or violet or green? Violet, okay. So the artist has spoken. So we have to follow the artist. This guy is not a good scientist, but he's a good artist. So no, but it's true. Are you, or perhaps you know science? You know science? Okay.
Basic.
Basic science. Okay. So he's not a very good scientist. He's a very good artist. Okay. So we have the purple color. By the way, in order to make pastry, always put salt because it releases the odor better. And now we have to. My hands are dirty. I hate that. I'm sorry. Now we have to, which flavor would you want? Would you like from or flows? Or tian? Not tian, no, not you. Tian has looks like potatoes. Mapo? Mapo? Okay. Okay. Yes, chef. This one, how much? More? Okay. These bottles are one pure chemical dissolved into oil, which means reducing the importance of flavor, otherwise it would be too much. And now, remember, we have to cook. This was cooking, by the way, but now we could kill the microorganism. You don't have something smaller? No. Or this one, perhaps? It would be better, no? So we put 2/3 of this product, okay? I did not say that Kelly Lee is a chef at Hudson Rice, a very important culinary school. Okay. So if you want more fat, I can put more fat. If you want more protein, I can put more protein. If you want phenolics, I can put phenolics. If you want more oil, I can put more oil. If you want more water, so you can decide exactly for what you want. Okay? Oh, it's all right. Thank you. And now we're cooking. So we cook in the microwave. How does it work this way? So full speed. We don't take care because we know the result already. All of us know the result. When you eat something like this with microwave, the oil is not heated, but the water is heated, which means that the water will evaporate, and 1 gram of water, 1 liter of steam. Oh, it's going up and up and up. This is an instant soufflé. So, chef, sorry? They need the video for the product. Okay. Do you see there? Oh, this way? Wow, it's very hot. Huh? But you know, in the kitchen, we need hot products, okay? So you see, it is very simple. You can control everything. Nutrition, flavor, consistency. I forgot the vitamins there, but we should have added vitamin. You see, it's very simple. And it's very simple. So the question, can I get my PowerPoint back, please? The PowerPoint back? Okay. So the question of, is it difficult to make everything together? The answer is no. Children can do it. When it's raining outside, with a monsoon, you make children in the kitchen and they make it. So this is very simple. It is solved. I say that because I know that some of you, you have in mind the yes, but. Yes, but. Be careful about yourself. You will probably have a yes, but. Yes, but toxicity. Yes, but nutrition. Yes, but. No, yes, but. Don't be afraid. Move. Move like Singaporean people who are like French people moving ahead. We have to move ahead. The future, I don't know it, except that I know that some species disappear. I know that we cannot eat everything. For example, myself, I was not able to eat a scorpion. I'm sorry. I know that, you know, in France, we eat frogs and snails. I was not able to eat a slug. Who had a slug before? Did you have a slug? No? Why? Because, you know, the Chinese eat some strange sometimes. Huh? But no slug. Why is it so? So you see, we cannot eat everything. So we have to acclimatize this thing. This is something important for Singapore because you don't produce in Singapore your own energy. How are you going? Because you consume a lot of energy when there is a light festival at the Garden by the Bay. You need energy for the... No, but it's true. Huh? Or for cooking the spicy crab. So the big issue is this one. In 2050, there will be 10 billion people on the earth. And we can feed, you know, I have to be very precise because this one is important. I'm not joking. 2050, I will be dead probably. But my children will be there. And many of you will be there as well. They will be not 9.3. It was an old prediction. Now it's 10 billion.1. Today, we are 7 billion, and 1 billion is starving. How are we going to feed our children? there is no other solution than fighting spoilage. Because there is 1/3 of the food produced by farmers that is spoiled, and then if we avoid spoilage, we reach 9 million. Very easy. Of course, there are reasons for spoilage, and the reason that when you transport carrots, they spoil. So we should not transport fresh products, and we should probably, at the farm, extract the product. Look at this. Trucks full of water. A tomato is 95% water. This is crazy. We are all crazy. We are non-responsible persons. We should stop that immediately. Okay. The techniques are there already. At the farm, it's very easy to divide the product into water, not water, cellulose, starch. The small equipment for a farmer, the cost is $2,000. So we have to teach the farmer. The universities of food science and technology have the duty to go to the farms and to teach the farmer and show them how it works. We have to enrich them. They are responsible for food security and environment as well. And this is why we're very happy that the Garden by the Bay Biodome would take of this question, because it is very important when you consider the sustainability question of the Earth. To have all this, it's obvious. So now, when you are a gourmand like me, the question is also to eat good food. The number of possibilities is infinite. Okay. So now a new art can grow. A new art. Even you can look a new art. We don't have a new art any day. So we have new flavor. So in 2009, it was in Hong Kong. I wanted my friend Pierre Gagnère to be the first to serve in a restaurant a note by note dish, and he did. And the name of his dish is note by note number 1. The second dish that he produced was number 2. And so on. Now, since that time, we had many pioneers. Sometimes they were wrong. For example, here there is a mushroom. It's completely useless because we have a bottle there called Collet, and this Collet product has the odor of mushroom. I don't have time to make you smell. Now, this was a big mistake because the only real, it's not all are real, but the only natural, no, nothing is natural. The only plant tissue that you can find there is basil. And the main compound in basil is methylchavicol, and methylchavicol is very toxic. I'm sorry for you. Anyway, a raspberry, completely useless. Forget raspberries, it's forbidden. This one was better. New art. This one for 2011. There was a big banquet with ministers, ambassadors, Nobel Prize winners in Paris at UNESCO. And the companies were paying me, not me, but paying a big company, catering company called Potel et Chabot, which is a big one, to make the menu. And it was this menu. The name of this dish was the ID of an oyster. There was no oyster, of course. Huh? It was only the ID. This one was Wöhler sauce with a soufflé. This one, on the right, you have a real meat, the ugly thing. It's real. The other also is real, but it's not by note. On the left, it's not by note. It's an artificial meat. I call that a DIRAC, D-I-R-A-C. The orange part on the top is not a carrot. It's not allowed to have carrots. It's an orange cylinder. Very easy to make an orange cylinder. The fruits. I'm very angry at them. They spoil the game. Okay? Another one. Montreal, Canada. This is Canada. This was one wonderful dish. It was like a turbot texture, but improved. This one was Paris, a contest. This was another one. Copenhagen, Denmark. The king of Denmark ate note by note cooking. He did not die before of note by note cooking. He died because he was old and sick. But I'm not responsible of all the problem of the earth, you know. Of some problem perhaps, but not all the problem. This was in Denmark, again in Denmark. This was interesting. And we have a contest. Please do participate to the contest. You just need to make one recipe, you send it by email, and then there is the possibility of getting a prize. So you see the winners in 2000. Look at that. Huh? Everything compound by compound. This one was a Swiss. an artificial sushi. No fish, no rice. No rice. Artificial rice. No, very funny. And this is new. This is brand new. There is a guy created a startup for selling these products that are important for cooking, because otherwise, how do you make the flavor? Okay. And now I'm very happy to show you this picture. The guy on the bottom is a chef, André Gamastra. He opened the first entirely note-by-note restaurant of the world. He's the only one. And every day there is only note-by-note food, no other food. He has no fresh product. And here are some dishes, you see, it can be beautiful. You see? Sometime at the beginning there were some herbs, but I told him you should not use herbs. Please use something else, or make your herbs yourself. I've seen a picture at the dinner. There will be a wonderful artificial herb. You don't know that, but you will be surprised. No, it's not an apple, of course. It's except the TV. Oh, okay. So there are more and more, almost daily. So new dishes, new flavors. Okay, more and more. And now, very recently in Alsace. You know, Alsace is the best place of the world because it's my village. In Alsace, you know, perhaps you don't know. Singapore is probably somewhere, where is it? Somewhere here, I don't know where, but I'm sorry. Because I'm not from here, so I have an excuse. But I know very well this place, France and Germany. Alsace is in the middle between France and Germany. Between France and Germany, so you see France, you see Switzerland, you see Germany, and Alsace is this part here, this small part here. In Alsace, you see how it is. This is a picture that I took from my bed. And on the left, you have a Grand Cru wine, Schlossberg. On the right, you have another Grand Cru, Fürstentum. When I get up in the morning, wow. And it's not too hot. The temperature is reasonable, and it does not rain too much. And then I'm very happy. Okay. So this is Alsace. Okay. There are medieval castles on the hills, big forests, full of mushrooms. Wonderful. Oh no, mushrooms are not important because we have Collet. Okay. You see? These are real pictures from Alsace. We see that every day. Okay, I love this. Let's take a breath in nature. Anyway, this is the valley of my village. Okay, this is this one. Now this is the restaurant by Julien Vins, 1-star Michelin. Okay, this is the chef, and he decided to cook note by note. It took him 2 months to design the menu. And this is the menu that he served to the press, plus some chefs of all the country. The international press came for press conference, plus VIPs, politicians, and so on, important people. For us chemists, we are not important people. We have to say, we have to bow in front of the minister, in front of a deputy, because we are paid by these people, so we have to be careful. So this is the menu. This is not an egg, of course. It has nothing to do with an egg. This is the menu. This one was very, very good. This one was a failure. It was good before the dinner, but he was not able to produce for many people. And there was some pressure on him. This one was a dessert, one dessert. The green one is one dish that I will remember all my life long because it was so good, so new, so interesting. So you know that what you have to do. You take your plane and you go to Julien Vins. Okay? Athens, very recently in Greece, they did very well. There was a lecture. They did note-by-note mixology, making cocktails, which is very easy. And then this is the menu in Athens, the same, press conference plus VIPs. The white parts were crackling, okay, so like a croquette or something. This one was beautiful, but the picture is bad. This was an imaginary fruit. And inside you had seeds, you see? And the seeds were edible, contrary to many seeds which are toxic. So what else? What else? Only one thing. We have in front of us the future. You know the future if you want it. You can decide to cross the ocean to discover a new continent, or you can decide to remain at home in the old Chinatown and eat the dim sum and the laksa or something. It's your choice. I don't get any money from Note by Note. You have to know. I don't get more fame because I'm already famous and I don't care. No, it's a fact. When I will be dead. What about fame? It's useless. So I'm famous for a very long time now. So you know, it's completely useless. It has no interest. Fame will not help me to solve my equations. You know, and my only purpose in life is to make a good chemistry, good chemistry at the lab. The application has nothing to do. The big risk for me is to get the Nobel Prize of Peace instead of chemistry. No, so don't forget about the fame. Forget about money. I don't get 1 cent from all this. Nothing. And you could ask yourself the question, why do I go to Singapore to show you such things? There is, in the answer that you will find in yourself, not in me, there is probably something important. And we have to be serious. You know, I was joking many times during the lecture. I'm not a very joyful person. I'm quite serious generally because I'm a chemist. Chemists are very serious. And, so I did that for you. Probably dancing in front of you will prevent me to get the Nobel Prize. And I should not. But perhaps there is something more important than Nobel Prize. And perhaps Note by Note is more important for humankind than Nobel Prize. And this is why I invite you, even if you have the yes, but effect in you, and you have probably, I invite you to consider the question very seriously. Because we have a responsibility for our children collectively. All children of the earth. We have to feed everybody. And we have a big responsibility today in particular, because we are wealthy, we are fat, not anybody in particular, but we have this responsibility. We have to do something quite fast. Remember, 2050, 10 billion people, we have now 30 years in front of you to do something. And if you want to participate and if you ask questions, I have to explain finally this picture. I put myself between two Greek gods. Bacchus, the god of good food, which is very important because we have only one life, and Hermes, the god of chemistry. If we have two gods taking care of us, perhaps it will work well. But in the middle, we have to be all together. The ladies, the men, the young, the old, all together, sitting at the same table, not only for food, but for knowledge. So finally, celebrate knowledge. Thank you. You want mine?
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Tis, for this amazing presentation. I'm sure everyone will remember this presentation. We will remember you, for sure. We have been, I think we have used quite a lot of time, so we will...
I'm sorry, I'm late.
No, it was very enjoyable, so I'm sure no one will mind. We just have a gift to give you, so I will invite the Vice Dean to come on stage to give you.
Yeah,
And to finish the...
Royal cylinder, I don't know what it is. It could be a knife or a pen or something.
Almost.
Or chocolate.
Okay, let's give last applause for Prof. Tis. All right, so you can come down if you have questions, selfie with Prof. Tis. Thank you everyone for coming to NUS. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Very nice. I'm sorry, I was making jokes with you and the ambassador.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Sorry? No, because it's not food grade. You can eat this one. No, you should ask.
They are not food grade, so I'm afraid you can't eat them.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Can I get your
Yeah, sure.
autograph?
Tu as open. What's your first name?
Jiang? Let me.
Yeah, show me.
J-I-E. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, Prof. We're gonna bring a copy of my book, but I hope you can give me
Ah,
an
yeah.
autograph on your notebook. This is my food notebook, actually.
I have to sign here.
Yeah, just autographs. That'd be fantastic. Thank you so much.
Are you a chef or?